Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are in chapter 4 of the So You Really Want to Learn Latin course, and we're going to be looking at neuter nouns. Now, the nouns we've met so far have been first declension nouns which have been predominantly feminine, and second declension nouns which have been predominantly masculine. So nouns ending in A in the singular, like mensa, were feminine. Nouns ending in us, such as annus or dominus, were masculine. Well, today we're going to meet another type of noun. It is still a second declension noun, but it is a neuter second declension noun. And these are nouns that go like bellum. Okay, now bellum means war, and it goes pretty much in exactly the same way as annus does, with some important differences. And the differences are that the accusative case is always identical to the nominative case, both in the singular and in the plural. And the vocative actually does that as well. So let's have a little look at how it goes. Bellum, bellum, bellum. Belly, bello, bello. Bella, bella, bella. Bellorum, bellis, bellis. Okay, so you can see that what's happening is it starts off with the nominative singular ending which looks rather like an accusative singular ending for nouns like annus. So it goes and then when it gets into the accusative, it sort of just follows into the way that annus goes and carries on e, o. In the plural, instead of going os, it goes a. So bella, 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 bellorum. So genitive plural, it's back in the right swing of things, like annorum, and bellis, bellis is the same as annis, annis. Okay? Now, neuter nouns, the word neuter is actually just the Latin for neither. So a neuter noun is neither masculine nor feminine. Don't be confused. In English, I suppose you would say that boys are masculine, girls are feminine, and things are neuter. That's pretty much the way we do things. We've got some exceptions to that. We tend to talk about a boat as if it was a she, but essentially, a thing, an inanimate object in English, is neuter. We would refer to it as it. In Latin, that's not the case. So boys, men, and lots of things are masculine. Girls, women, and lots of things are feminine. And a lot of other things are neuter. Okay, so that's just the way the genders work in Latin. And if you've learnt modern languages like French, you need to learn the gender of nouns. German, you have to learn the gender of nouns. Spanish, you have to learn the gender of nouns. It's another noun to learn. Bellum, 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 belli, bello, bello, bella, 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 bellorum, bellis, bellis. But once you've learnt it, and it's really not very different from annus, we've got to work out, well, what are the difficulties involved in using neuter nouns? Well, the most obvious difficulty is that because the nominative and the accusative case endings for neuter nouns are identical, it's not always obvious whether a noun is the subject or the object. Okay, so let's have a little look at an example and see if we can get our heads around this. Okay, so if you have a simple two-word sentence like donum portat. Okay, donum portat. Well, if we were translating that, we would look at the verb first, we would see portat, and we would know that that was a third person singular ending, so it's he, she, it, or a noun in the nominative singular, if there is one, is doing the carrying. Portat means he, she, it carries. We look at the other word in the sentence, which is donum, and we think, well, that could be nominative singular, could obviously be vocative, but we're not talking to anyone, and it could be accusative singular. So you don't actually know whether donum is the subject or the object. So then we just have to use some common sense. If donum was nominative, that sentence would mean the gift is carrying, which doesn't make any sense. So let's assume donum is the object, it's an accusative case, in which case the subject is in the verb, he, she, or it. He, she, or it is carrying the gift. And that, of course, makes perfect sense. Okay, so what you need to know now is that with neuter nouns in your armoury, you just have to be aware that it's not quite as easy working out whether the noun is the subject or the object, because both in the singular and in the plural, the nominative and accusative endings are identical. Okay? Right, let's have a look at another one. So, for example, if we had telung servum vulneravit. Okay? Telung. Now, telung, we're nasalizing that final M, if you wonder what's going on there. Telum, the Romans, remember, would have nasalized and internalized the M noise at the end of a word. Telung. I've done a pronunciation video on this, which you might want to refer back to. But okay, let's move on. Telung servum vulneravit. Okay, normal rules, we would look at our verb first, vulneravit, he, she, it, or a noun in the nominative singular, has wounded. Okay, now we've got two nouns in the rest of the sentence, telung and servum. Right, both end in Now, we learnt when we came across the second declension, is a lovely accusative singular ending, a nus, a ne, a num. Right, so it could easily be that either one of those nouns are the object. But telung, when we learn that noun, we learn that it didn't begin life as telus. It's a neuter noun, it's telung. So telung could be nominative or vocative or accusative singular. Okay? Servum, however, could only be accusative singular because it begins servus, serve, servum. Right. So if servum is definitely accusative singular and telung could be nominative or accusative singular, it's kind of pretty clear that it's nominative. And then, of course, common sense kicks in. Telung means a spear. Vulneravit means has wounded. So the spear has wounded. And we've got a lovely object there. Servum, the slave. Okay? And of course, if we thought for a moment telung could have been the object, and we had thought the subject was in the verb, vulneravit, and had gone for he or she or it, well then we would have had he has wounded the spear. It's already sounding a bit weird. He has wounded the spear. And what do we do with servum? It would have just been left there. Okay? So common sense always will help us through these little jollities with neuters. Okay, and in the plural as well, same problem. So for example, if we had the sentence pericola aquae Neuter timet. Okay, we go to our verb first, timet, and that's he, she, or it fears. Present tense of timmeo, timet, he fears, or she fears, or it fears, or a noun in the nominative singular, fears. Okay, we look at the other words in the sentence. We've got pericola. Now, pericola, it's got a nice A ending. It looks like a nominative singular of a noun like mensa. But when we learn the word pericola, we realise it isn't pericola, it's periculum. And it's a neuter noun. It means danger. Periculum means danger. So, by the time periculum becomes pericola, it's gone periculum, 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 pericoli, pericolo, pericolo, pericola, 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 pericolorum, pericolis, pericolis. So it's a neuter noun, and pericola must be either nominative, vocative, or accusative plural. Okay. Now, luckily, our golden rules of Latin translation help here enormously, because when we looked at the verb and we saw timet, we knew that the subject was either he, she, or it, or a noun in the nominative singular. Right, well, pericola, if it's anything nominative, it would be nominative plural, because periculum is the nominative singular, and pericola is potentially the nominative plural, or vocative plural, or accusative plural. Right, well, it's not going to be the subject because it's plural. Okay, what else have we got? We've got acquae. Well, acquae, our old friend, we know that noun. It's a first declension noun. And acquae could be a subject. It could be a nominative plural, except that we've just proved that the subject of this sentence is singular, because timet is he, she, or it, or a noun in the nominative singular. So, no subjects here. One more word in the sentence, neuter. Now, neuter is a nominative singular, or potentially a vocative singular. Right. Now, it's not vocative because we're not talking to anyone. There's no you are doing this or anything like that. So, neuter is a strong candidate for being our subject. The sailor fears. Okay? The sailor fears. Now, what does the sailor fear? We always want to know, is there an object? Back to the beginning of the sentence, and we have pericola. Now, periculum means a danger, so pericola is the plural of that. Dangers. The sailor fears the dangers, pericola, accusative plural, and then one word left, acquae. Now we know it's not the nominative plural because we've already established that. So we're looking, well, what could acquae mean? And we're going mensa, 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 mensae, genitive singular. The sailor fears the dangers of the water. Okay? Right, now, as we've already established during this course, going the other way, from English into Latin, I find so much easier because you're the one running the show. So if you wanted to write a sentence from English into Latin using neuters, very simple, just make sure you use the right ending. So if you had a sentence like, the sailor fears the dangers of war, okay, start with our subject, the sailor, neuter, fears, it'll go at the end, but it'll be timet, for he, she, or it fears, so neuter, timet, and he fears the dangers. Right, now that is the object, so it's going to go in the accusative case, and it's plural because we've said dangers. So take the Latin word periculum, and you get it into its accusative plural form. Pericula. And then he fears the dangers of war. Okay? Latin for war is bellum, and we want the genitive singular, bellum, 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 belli. Genitive singular. So there we go. Neuter pericula, belli timet. Okay, so neuters, they are a nice new thing to learn. Once you've got the hang of it, they're not very difficult. Bellum, second declension, neuter noun, very similar in its endings to annus, except that it's got these problems in the nominative and vocative and accusative singular, all being the same. Okay, we've got some practice exercises in the book to give you a little play with those. Some new nouns to learn: talon, a spear; donon, a gift; auxilion, help. We get the word auxiliary, periculon, danger. Okay, so have a little go with these. Do subscribe to this channel if you like these lessons and find them useful. Leave me any comments below, and I will see you next time.